Alright, I don't know why my mirrors keep doing this. I know why, but it's still annoying. Alright, 173. I think, right? It is. Replay gang, thank you very much. I salute you. Thank you so much. Quick autopsy on today's training. It had to be light. Some irritation. Medial quadriceps tendon. So I think it came from demonstrating a poor movement to a client, and the inside of my knee was burning and itchy. No good. I did step up to 275 on the leg press as I continue to rehab this left quadriceps tendon, and I probably will say that it was good enough. The irritation in the knee definitely subsided a little bit. I followed with slightly heavier single leg curls seated. Instead of working at 50 pounds, I worked at 70 left leg first. And then I went up a little bit in weight for the quad extension. The leg extension, knee extension, whatever. And I kind of kept it simple. I'm going to try to keep this message simple because that's pretty much one of the lessons incurred here. You'll probably see that if you go through my streaming history, there is episode 171, and now this should be episode 173. The issue therein lies with 172. So I just want to make sure that people hear what I have to say here in the beginning. The way I delivered my message was erroneous. It was hurtful to some people. And, I talked to somebody today who was pretty reasonable. He was very angry, but reasonable. And he basically gave me the, hey, Mrs. Eva, how you doing? He gave me the inspiration for today's title, which is Perception is Reality. And so something tragic happened last week, and it really had a very painful effect on me, even though the tragedy did not, let's say, affect me absolutely directly, but the pain was very direct. And the pain, the source of that pain, was the guilt that I felt, because just like after my father died in January of this year, I came to some very quick realizations. It was different with my father. I recognized that I did not value him as much as I should have. I thought I did, but I didn't. And in this instance, I realized that I should have been kinder, more or not even understanding, because I didn't have enough conversations to really get a chance to understand anything. But I could have been kinder. I could have been less judgmental. And I want to make that point. I want to make sure that that's the first thing that's being said here. My last stream was not a criticism of anybody except myself. I'm very introspective that way. And sometimes I set the scene, and the way that I set the scene, it led people to believe that I was being disrespectful to somebody else. which was not really the intention. But then, sometimes, I think that I'm bringing you guys a positive message or an important lesson. But when the majority of people don't get that message, then the message is not valuable. It doesn't have any value. You could be saying one thing in your mind, and when it's received on the other side, it's something completely different. And so, if you look in the description of this stream, I said that I pride myself in my honesty, but there is a trait that's more important than that. And that trait, well, wow, I mean, there might be several of them. There might be, tact is the first word that came to mind as it was relayed to me today. But I think having more empathy helps us all. Put yourself in the positions of other people before you judge them. And that's where I really think that I went wrong. Most people have very limited interactions with other people. So that's important for two reasons. One, people are likely to create an entire picture of you through those limited interactions. And two, the perceptions that we have of other people due to those limited interactions are probably going to be more wrong than they are right. And that's where I have a major criticism of myself. You have these limited interactions with people, and your nervous system receives a signal, and that's the perception that you have. But I realized on Saturday that not only was my perception wrong, but my basis for creating a perception is full of fallacies. And I need to be sure that whenever I have an interaction that is perceived to be suboptimal, that I remember that there are people going through things outside of your limited interaction with them. I will dare to say that even people that we have a lot of interaction with, you could be sleeping next to somebody for 18 and a half years like I have, and still not know and be in tune with all the things that they are going through. Because that is just part of human existence, I think. I think a lot of us want to be understood, but is that most of us won't be understood. And even if we are understood, there are going to be a lot of times where we feel like we're not understood. Hey, Catherine, how you doing? And I think it's really important for us to be slow to judgment. I'll give you an example. You guys know that I cover MMA. And, especially before big events, I like to watch the UFC, pay-per-view embedded series that they do before the pay-per-view starts. And usually you get to see a side of fighters that you don't normally get to see, outside of their social media posts or what they say in the press conferences and media obligations. And sometimes when you hear them speak so disrespectfully on other people, it's easy to forget that they believe that this is the way that you need to sell fights. So sometimes they portray themselves really poorly, but perhaps that is not really, who they are, how they portray themselves. Ilya Topuria is one of those people who is possible he comes off as a disrespectful asshole, but it's possible that he's not. It's possible that he acts brash to get people to know who he is, so that then they'll buy the pay-per-view. But I like good sportsmanship. So when I hear some of the things that Ilya has said, I really hope he gets knocked the fuck out. But then when you watch the UFC embedded, how they interact with people as, the fight week is going on, you see definitely a more human side to them, and you realize that your perception of them is incorrect. And, for my sake, since he's still the featherweight champion after he knocked out my boy Max, which I'm still grieving about, I hope that he is only acting like an ass to sell fights, and that's not his actual character. So I realized on Saturday when I saw what I saw that I unfairly judged someone. And I think that we need to be more critical of ourselves in this way, because I think that understanding the plights of others, understanding the plight of others helps us to understand ourselves and our own problems a little bit better. I really try, and of course I failed in this instance, but I really try to put myself in the shoes of other people to slow down my irritation. And you realize sometimes when it's too late that maybe you should have tried harder, maybe you should have been kinder. And that's really the message I want to bring to you guys. But also, involved in being kind is making sure that what you say doesn't have unintended effects. How you say something is more important than what is said. And for the simple reason for that is, even if you have a noble message, if people don't receive that message, then it's not a noble message. And so I realized that, in communicating with other human beings, that, and I've rubbed people the wrong way in the past as well with my messages, where people were really upset with the actual message that I was trying to send, in which case I don't really have a problem. But when something that I say hurts people, especially unintentionally, the guilt is very, very difficult to bear in my alone time. To sit there with the... Wow, this guy's not paying attention. Wow. You got to let people in traffic and they're looking in the wrong direction. Like, sorry, guy. You just got to sit there and wait now. And so, I was looking to send a message of reminding people to be kind. But instead, the message was received that I, myself, am an unkind person. And it doesn't matter so much that I want to influence people to be more kind to each other, or at least just slower to your anger, slower to your negative misconceptions of people that you have very limited interaction with. But that was not the message that was received. So for that, I have to apologize to those who were offended by what I said. You know, I always hate the outlier argument. You know, somebody will say, well, you know, my retirement plan is to win the lottery because I know that somebody's going to win the lottery. And it's like, well, if it's not the majority of cases, then you really shouldn't bank on it. So while I do believe that some people understood what I was saying, the vast majority of people didn't. So I got to go with the majority, and I have to agree with them and say that my delivery was awful because most people believe it was. Because that's really the, you know, the most important thing in these situations. Again, it's really not what you know, but who you know. It's not what you say, but how it is conveyed. And that's a really important lesson to learn. I'm learning it a different way. I've had to look some people directly in their eye and apologize because what I said was wrong. It had the wrong effect. And I just think that as human beings, we're always going to be prone to putting our foot in our mouths. Because if that weren't the case, there probably would be no wars, no violence, and no divorces, I guess. So I accept that, you know, I fucked up. But it doesn't change how I've been emotionally impacted by what I saw. It doesn't change the lesson that I learned, and it does not change the lesson that I'm hoping will be conveyed to you, the listener. You know, you have to slow down stamping people with labels, especially off of extremely limited interactions. You know, but I also believe that that's a really, I mean, it's easy for me to say that, you know, because I live in that headspace all the time of trying to understand people. But please don't get stuck on the other side of the car. Thank you. But yeah, you know, as much, you know, and the thing is, you'll never really know everything that you need to know about dealing with people. You're going to make mistakes. You know, you're going to say things that are offensive, whether you intend to or not. And you just have to own up to it and make sure that if, you know, there is a lesson to be learned, that you learn it. That's really the long and the short of it. I also messed up because I forgot to put the gym bag in the trunk. So I'm kind of dumb. Sorry if I didn't put it in the trunk. If you want to put it in the trunk, that's fine. Nope. She's fine lapping it. I would love to make this light if this truck driving the wrong way allows me to.
You can make it. Go.
Yeah, I believe.
Go for it.
Oh.
Gotcha.
But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much, what I wanted people to understand, and I'm going to reiterate the 2 points that I believe are important. Effective communication is probably one of the best skills that you can have. And 2, please, people are not the total sum of your negative interactions with them or your positive interactions with them. People have a whole lot going on inside their mind, in their environments. They've got a lot going on. And I know that it's hard to hear that because you yourself have a lot going on yourself that you maybe, need to get grace for, or maybe you're even giving that grace to yourself and not people. But if I think that if a lot of us were able to recognize that people are suffering in silence in this life, I do think that we could do a lot to help people who are in need. And I think that it's a lot easier to help somebody when they're in need than to deal with the aftermath. I think that if we were a little bit less unselfish, especially as Americans, we're a really selfish bunch. I learned that traveling other places. If we, like just something as simple as sharing the road when you're driving, obviously you have somewhere to be, but also understand that other people have somewhere to be. And it's not all about you. This does not apply to people who walk really, really slow when crossing the street, because obviously they don't have anywhere to be. But that's neither here nor there. Joy walking is staring at me because that is one of her pet peeves. And people who don't wear helmets when they're on their bicycles. So yeah, I just really want everybody to just be a little bit more aware. I was made aware of some things that I need to make adjustments for. And I'll continue to keep trying to improve myself, because that is a lifelong endeavor. Why are you out here with your stroller not on the sidewalk? At least the kid wasn't in the stroller this time. Really hate that. Bicycles and motorcycles and electric bikes and scooters. All of the above, Catherine. All the above. I do want to speak on a cultural issue that was also brought to my attention. I really do think that, man, people, sometimes what I wouldn't give to be a normal, healthy human being. In this context, somebody was saying, hey, regardless of any message, people are really, really sensitive about people passing away. And so sometimes it doesn't matter how nice you say it, or how well you communicate it. For some people, speaking on certain subjects at all is an extreme taboo. And one of the reasons why I wish that I was more of a normal human being is because I have seen an unnatural amount of death, more specifically in the realm of self-termination. I've been very open over the years about my struggles with suicidal ideation from the age of 7 all the way through to when I was, I don't know, 35. The dark thoughts do enter into my peripheral vision, but they don't cloud over me and then take over my brain where it starts lying to me. It doesn't get to that level anymore. I don't think it ever will, but stranger things have happened. My father probably shortened his life because of all of the attempts that he made on his own life. And then there are the family members that I have, the relatives that I've had that were successful in their attempts to end their lives. And for me, it is a fact of life. But for most people who are healthy people, that is definitely something that they are not used to and will not get used to. So people are very adamant about not speaking on certain subjects regardless of the context, which it is a difficult thing for me to it's a difficult thing for me to relate to. I understand it in principle as the concept, but my inability to relate stems from a really unhealthy mind frame. And there have been a lot of times in my life. Hey, Talia, how you doing? Good to see you again. There are a lot of times where I see myself looking at things that, in a generally matter-of-fact way, when a healthy person looks at it a completely different way. So that's probably, I have no problem owning up to my mistakes, and hey, I offended people and I have to apologize. I don't have a problem with that. In some ways, that's the easy part, because I understand the concept of being offended. I've been offended by people who didn't intend to offend me. I've been offended by people who were trying to offend me. I'm a black man in America, a straight black man in America. So I definitely have had a bunch of people. Oh, I'm actually going to work, Talia. But then after work, I'll be going home. Hey, they painted all the lines. After they repave the road. Yay. But for me, you know, recognizing where I'm wrong is not a difficult thing for me. It's not a difficult thing for me. Understanding how normal, healthy people think about certain things is much more difficult. Obviously, I wish it were easier for me. But, you know, sitting there like trying to grasp the spirit of what somebody's saying instead of just hearing them and just saying, Like I said, I get, you know, if somebody says, hey, you know, the subject of death is taboo, don't talk about it. Or if someone else passes away, don't talk about it. Okay. I know what not to do. But what is going to bug me is really trying to feel and the inability to relate to why it is such a thing for people. And I have my hypothesis. I have my theories on why that could be. But it really does leave me thinking a lot about, you know, how certain situations affect people. This guy's in the wrong lane. Let's see if anybody is going to let him get into his proper lane. Or are they going to make him hold up traffic in this turning lane? Now, I want to be very clear about this. This is not Berlin, Germany that we're talking about. This is New York, New York. So what do you think are the chances that these next, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 cars are going to let this guy merge into his proper lane that he should have merged into earlier, but didn't want to wait his turn? Let's see what happens here. Will they let him in? Not this guy. And that guy was slow to react. That's how he got in. All right, so the second car. He got in front of the second car. You know, I guess that's the best outcome that we can really hope to expect for. But anyway.
To meet somebody slow.
Hmm?
Meeting somebody slow.
What do you mean?
Because he got into his car because the other guy is slow.
Oh, he got into the lane because the other guy was slow. It
Yeah.
wasn't because the guy was letting him in.
Yeah.
You know, people are looking at their phones at red lights and stuff like that. You know, that's how it is sometimes. That looks like an unmarked police car. Now I'm looking to see if he's going to flash his lights so that he can cross without having to wait. Let's see. Let's see. Although his lights are red and white, so they're not red and blue. That was interesting. Come on, guy. Come on. Come on. There we go. So definitely a rough start to the day, but I expected it. I was dreading it. But I will rectify the situation. I will rectify the situation. But you guys, you can definitely in the comments section kind of tell me about your experiences with, misunderstandings, misperceptions of others, people that you thought were a certain way, but then when you got to know them, you're like, oh, they're really cool. I hear stories like that all the time. Like, I don't really like such and such. I don't really like, this person. And then, they happen to work on the same project as you. Or you find out that this coworker that you thought was a certain way, you end up, doing an activity that you both enjoy, the same activity. And then you see them in a different lens, you see them at a different angle, and then your perception of them changes. In this situation, I won't get that opportunity. But it is a very painful lesson to learn to, not let the first instinct be the lasting one. Try to see people beyond what you think you know. I mean, you see it in movies all the time, right? The old wise man, forget everything you think you know. I think that is a common theme in film.
Stupid pigeon.
Pigeons chasing the bread. Can't be mad at the pigeon. In this dirty city, somebody's got to clean it up. The pigeons do it. So yeah, I try to make sure that my apologies are as loud as my offense. However, I get the sense that many fewer people will watch this one than the one that I deleted. So I have to be okay with that. But you can have the greatest intentions in the world, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I definitely have to do a better job of trying to anticipate the likely reception that anything that I said will likely have. To be able to predict these things a little bit better. Obviously, I'm going to still come to you guys with this stream, either, a walking or driving stream or something. And I'm still going to kind of convey the lessons that I learned in life. Not many of them are going to be convenient lessons. I'm not going to learn a lot of these lessons through happy and safe and healthy means. And that's just the reality of it. I was about to turn on the windshield wipers again for no reason. But anyway, still love you guys. Thank you for listening, whoever felt like listening. And yeah, you know, foot in mouth, thoroughly embarrassed, but I will come back from this. Unrelated. I was thinking about doing a video on TSP about the demise of two of my favorite fighters. They both went out in spectacularly awful ways. Robert Whittaker and Max Holloway, two of my favorite fighters of all time. And I'm hoping against hope. Khamzat Chimaev just crushed the teeth out of the jaw of Robert Whittaker. One of the fastest face crank tap outs I've ever seen. And like, after you see the pictures, you'll know why. And probably, well, not probably, but definitely more painful what happened to Max. Max was winning the fight. He was making a lot of good moves. But just like Israel Adesanya, the striking defense in the second round, Max just kept getting hit by overhand right after overhand right. And I'm like, dude, where's your defense? Where's your defense? And then he gets hit with a right hand, stumbles back. Topuria gets up in his face, crushes him with a left hook. Max, you know, forgot his footwork. He forgot his striking defense. And then you listen to him talk after the fight, and he's like, well, maybe it hurt more than I thought it did. What? He's punching you in your face. Like, what did you think was going to happen if you just let him hit you with overhand rights over and over and over and over and over again? That was the worst striking defense I've ever seen from Max Holloway, and I saw what Volk did to him the third time around. So, you know, Robert Whittaker's championship aspirations are done. We're now one step closer to his retirement, and I do think that the sport will be worse off for it. Max says he's going to go to 155, but I fear that we've got maybe a year and a half left of Max Holloway's career, because once you do get knocked out, it becomes a lot easier to get knocked out afterwards. So, I hope that there's going to be a new generation of fighters with honor and good sportsmanship. It seems like everybody want to be what they think Conor McGregor used to get rich, and that's acting like an asshole. Maybe better to retire for Holloway. Um, I don't want to admit it, but I think that it's likely that retirement would be the best thing because I think that he ranks pretty highly on the CTE rankings. Those, if you know, you know. But he won't stop fighting. He's going to move up to lightweight from featherweight. And we'll see what happens. You know, it became very clear to me that Max doesn't really have power that translates at 145. So yeah, it might be a good idea for him to retire, Catherine. But he is a fighter through and through, so he's not going to retire. Not going to happen. Not right now, but I think that we probably got another year, maybe year and a half of Max's career to look forward to, and it's going to be a sad day when he retires. One note before I get out of here: the New York Yankees. You had one job. You had one job. I guess this outcome was inevitable, but I don't have to like it. Like I really wanted both teams to lose the World Series, but if I really look at things, I hate the Yankees a little bit less than the Dodgers, but they both represent the same type of thing, which is buying all of the league's talent and making it where it's really not worth it to even watch the games. You know, you give a DH $70 million. You know, you go and buy up that guy, you go and buy up the other guy, and then yay, you know, World Series. It's like, that's no fun. Buying a World Series is not fun. I will tell you, as a fan of a team who has the richest owner in all of baseball, if the Mets won by giving Juan Soto $600 million, I guess I would be happy because I haven't seen a championship in my lifetime. But I won't be like over the moon proud. If the Mets had won this year, I would have been over the moon proud because all the injuries and all of the low cost, you know, uh, high upside, high risk guys that they picked up off the scrap heap, and then they've created such a tight. I don't think I've seen a team that's so close to each other in baseball before. I mean, you see it in hockey. You see like close knit locker rooms in hockey. You don't really see that as much in baseball. It definitely feels a little bit more like an individual sport in a lot of ways. But this New York Met team 2024, as irritated as I was about how they played, also very proud of the men, proud of the team, that they pulled things together the way that they did. So okay, that was very strange. Okay, you agree? Okay. Well, I'm going to sign off here. I'm going to see you guys on Thursday in some type of way. It may not be at the normal time. But yeah. I'll see you for the next episode or whatever or something. All right, peace.